Hello, everybody. I think we're going to get started here. So hello and welcome, everyone. My name's Deanna Fong. I'm the literary editor at the Capilano Review, and my cup is just overflowing with gratitude and joy to be in your company tonight. I'm so happy to be back in Vancouver, so thank you for being here. It's wonderful to see so many familiar faces in the crowd tonight, and for those of you who I don't already know, I hope we will be dear friends very soon. And a big welcome, too, to all of you who are joining us virtually by live stream. Hi. So we're gathered here tonight on the unceded ancestral territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people, nations who have inhabited this land since time immemorial and whose stewardship has made it possible for us to live and gather here at all. As an organization primarily run by settlers, we'd also like to call attention to the indigenous name Capilano, an important hereditary title, often anglicized as Capilano, that has been used without acknowledgement in our journal's title since its founding in 1972. If you're interested in learning more about the history of this name, we invite you to read the feature essay on the name Capilano on our website and to follow our new Indigenous Places and Names series, curated by Associate Editor Susan Blight when it's launched online next month. For those of you with us tonight who may be unfamiliar with the Capilano Review, TCR is a BC-based nonprofit literary and visual arts journal that's published 3 times a year from our offices in the Woodward's Heritage Building in downtown Vancouver. Originally founded by Pierre Coupé at Capilano College in 1972, TCR has been independent since 2015 through the support of a robust community of writers, artists, and readers. Now approaching its 150th issue, the Capilano Review's mandate continues to be the presentation of experimental writing and visual art, often in dialogue and often side by side. If you'd like to learn more about our publication and the work that we do, we invite you to come speak with one of us after the event. Our managing editor, Lauren Lavery, will be at our merch table beside the bar all night long, where you can also peruse a copy of our hot as hotcakes new issue, Interventions in the Archive. They literally just arrived today. The glue has not even set yet. They said don't bend them too much for the next 24 hours, so they are brand new. It's titled Interventions in the Archive, in which you will find work by Deanna Bradford and Jane Shi, who are reading tonight. Also for sale are our 3 very special 50th anniversary glossary issues, back issues, tote bags, art editions, authors' books, and other merchandise. If you enjoy the event tonight, we'd like to encourage you to consider purchasing a $35 subscription to the Capilano Review so that we can continue to publish, program, and promote art and writing in this city and across Canada. A 1-year subscription will get you 3 print issues a year delivered to your door, beginning with the current issue, Interventions in the Archive, continuing with our forthcoming fall 2023 special issue, colloquially dubbed the Anti-Monuments issue, and our winter 2024 open issue after that. Subscriptions remain the beating the heart of small lit magazines like ours, without which we would cease to operate. So please read and subscribe to the publications you love to ensure their continuation. Every bit of support helps us in what continues to be an increasingly difficult climate for arts and literary publications like ours, and we thank you for your unwavering belief in and support of what we do. I'd like to extend a huge thank you to the Western Front for being generous and supportive collaborators on this series, in particular Susan Gibb and Keel Torres, who's co-organized the series with myself and arts editor Jacqueline Ross, as well as Ben Wilson and Nathaniel Marchand. Thanks to Keely, who's doing videography tonight, Daniel, who's doing sound, and Allison, our photographer. Thank you so much for inviting us into this space. We'd also like to thank the Kootenai School of Writing for their generous donation in support of this program. Christian Vistan, our artist in residence for this reading series, is also here in the audience with us tonight. Christian has been producing the backgrounds for each of our monthly reading series, adding a visual dimension to our practices of reading and listening. The image you see tonight was inspired in part by the calendar that one of our last month's readers, Leanne Dunick, gave away to an audience member, Danielle LaFrance, at our last month's event. This new work by Christian is conceived as a composite calendar of painterly sketches evoking smoke, weather, and weathering, all themes central to their practice, and ones which have also been serendipitously been echoed across our series so far. These sketches exploring interactions between the wet and the dry have been produced using water-soluble charcoal, graphite, and ink. Thank you, Christian, for so thoughtfully engaging with our program. So some quick housekeeping before we get on with the evening. Each of our 3 readers tonight will be presenting for about 20 minutes with no intermission. We're doing our best to keep everyone safe at this event, so we strongly encourage the use of masks when not eating or drinking. An all-gender washroom is available on this floor just outside the hall, and an additional 2 washrooms are located downstairs in the foyer. We acknowledge that this physical space is not currently wheelchair accessible, so to everyone currently attending through live stream, thank you for being patient with us while we continue to work through the necessary steps to make a large-scale upgrade to this historic building a reality. And with that, I will introduce our first reader tonight, Jane Shi. I have an introduction for her, so hang on. Jane is the winner of our 2022 writing contest, which was judged by DM Bradford. In reading her work for the latest issue of TCR, we were struck by the gentle yet complex dialogue between cultural, familial, and individual positions of selfhood, of the contrapuntal interplay of form and content, and of the unyieldingly candid assertions of a lyric eye that is shaped through its connections to others. Jane Shi lives on the occupied territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. She is the author of the chapbook Leaving Chang'e on Red, and her debut collection Ecolalia comes out fall 2024 with Brick Books. Here's Jane.
Cling, after Josalia Rebecca Hugh. Oh, grandmothers who have held me across the ocean, is this love? How can I live so good I do right by you? Oh, grandmothers who have learned me through machines, are these the matches for when they arrive? Where is the sawdust? Where is the white rice? The water buckets, my dear, bring it to me. I am your fuse, sieve ear bucket to cling to. I keep it, I keep you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much to the Capilano Review, to DM Bradford for reading my poems, to Deanna and Jackie for putting this issue together, and to the Western Front and the Kootenai School of Writing as well. This next poem is called Reading Practice, and it was written in response to a call from Otanya J. Bitek to sully the English language. Reading Practice. This page pecks worms from my pocket eyes. She knows I haven't done the readings. She gnaws at the underbelly. Bubble bat zaps, electrolocation darts with theory daggers, grammar taunts. My back balances the expectations of a white lady of the cloud firmament. Silly putties pipe cleaner people into a cardboard corporate strip mall roundabout. Wonderland somewhere breathable. 12-year-old me chants bike away forever. Reading these measurements at the same time as reading my poems is a reading practice. Little post-its of reject grammatology. I eat paint chips, flush out stitches as if to say swish. None of it was done to me. I bathe in the noise album of bookstore cash machines, use nonprofit loofahs to wipe away the grime. Ballpoint pen shampoo my copy of Norton Anthology of English Shiterature. I take notes so Uncle Time won't have to use their hands. I store clocks in the freezer until I'm ready to defrost my face in the sink. Wait for them to chide me for not doing it right. I haven't done the readings, but I taped a book inside the creases around my eyes. Here. If you listen long enough, you might catch me breathing. Sputters of dirt, growth, hills, among 1,000 years of jarred bayberry scholarship. Read me. This poem is Before You Were Born, which is the poem that won the interventions in the archive contest. And just a quick image description of the poem. It consists of 3 shadowy figures stacked on top of each other as texts. And it was written in a workshop with Diana Nguyen. And it's traced from a small black and white photograph of my gongong, popo, and mother circa 1960s. The photo is currently tucked in a corner of a larger picture frame alongside with other photographs in my parents' home, and it's very small. Figure 1, they offered you. Figure 2, cartridge of lies. What would you say to me if you knew me then, if you could open the water of your eyes and choose me as I am, if you could tell me why, what stories did you want to protect me from a world that no longer exists? Time made everything disappear. You worried you would lose me. I look at your face now, a blur, the face, oh, history, secrets, stares blankly, moment to moment, and you kept looking. You refused to look. Affling a scent of camera flash, cartridge of light. Who holds up this portrait? And with what spoons do we lift the cranes of toothpick graves, poking from moss? Mosquito 10 scaffoldings, he wasn't there for her when she fell. He wanted to protect me from the absence of the fishing village, the cold air of. Who holds up this portrait? And with what spoons we lift the cranes, toothpick graves poking from moss, mosquito tent scaffoldings. He wasn't there for her when she fell. She wanted to protect me from the absence of the fishing village, the cold air of. The face of history secretes stares blankly, moment to moment. And you kept looking. You refused to look, baffling ascent of the camera flash, cartridge of light. What would you say to me if you knew me then? If you could open the water of your eyes and choose me as I am? If you could tell me why? What stories did you want to protect me from? A world that no longer exists. Time made everything disappear. You worried you would lose me. I look at your face now, a blur. Figure 3, a thumbprint. In 2004, Toronto, a mother drowned her autistic child. This is a new poem that speaks her name as transliterated homonyms. Feel free, please take care of yourself if the topics of filicide and eugenics and violence against disabled children are too much at this moment. Belly tied. Gallium Kang, you were only 4. Doctor Sawbones, another eye drop. Meniscus sandbox for wanting more than what was given. Diminutive Medea, Glug's bathwater devotion. I won't kill another baby, I won't. Promise to the jury she will be a good mother. I can't. Help. But watch as she returns those harsh contractions beckoning you. Of possession, 1,000 Jasons would not be enough. Scab, scab, scarlet hand, let me void your refund. Spam Shoshing's inbox forfeit. My forceps with a stipulation at my hands, carrotage me. Medea, my killer, my mother who slipped in the stipulation, let me void it. Rip back your 5,000 Mondays. Another, and other. To be greedy for 1,000 rotations of crescents is a crime. In every single country of this unworthy mythology, home, you played puck with sleep, you twisted the zipper between the tide and eyelid, you axolotl emerald unfrozen pond, order 90 servings of July mornings. Greedy for canopus like me. This is another new poem, and it's based on a prompt that I adapted from Joy Priest, in which you write a letter to or from someone and incorporate 2 truths and a lie. Which is really difficult if you have a hard time lying, so I decided that inversions and half-truths and embellishments count. Bye-bye the bok choy. August 14th, 1999. Sunbathing on a rack at Empire Supermarket. I wait for you to pick me. Up, I shimmer pink. Like beef dicks your mother slaps kid eyeballs away from. Don't look. Mine's inviting. I'll be the cutest item in your fridge. Do your eggs slip smiley faces? Do your oranges? I wonder where you are when you rip off my tag. Napping in the pumpkin tree house, staring at the skeleton hangings, or maybe drinking owls from terrarium rows. Evening's last shopper grabs me before you could. Fuck. Oh well. I hear when a bunny is stuck and can't stuff lightning bolts back inside the treehouse. They grow bad at biting new veggies. Is that why you won't serve me, but stick me in a jar protection pickle against natal deal ships? How long can a soul creature be struck before they cabbage? I'll wait out here for you every Saturday morning, so eager to try novelty vegetables, teeth pink, adorable. I'll poison those sailors. This is a mandatory accidental submersible poem. No explanation needed, but it first appeared in the Watch Your Head anthology, Writers and Artists Against the Climate Crisis, or Respond to the Climate Crisis. Walking into the ocean. My obligation to the earth is simpler than the flimsy contract of a collapsed toy ship factory. How long fish would live if no longer fugitive to keel, kellic, and angry boom chain. Injecting Botox into the water, workers of our county must have looked forward to the coolness of soil when they drowned. The last of their incense breaths fleeing Pender Street, home between ashy pages of quiet nights and negligent morning. That portion of motherland Christian Oriental Hawaii. Which part did you name me after? I watch as you twist anchor lines with steaming red sausage, squeeze blood from wet towel. I get it all mixed up. Water from sausage oil, sunspots from badges of living. Tell me the difference between my bones and the bones of whale shark. This nuclear explosion paints brushstrokes like iron filings. My ghost grips my neck until I can breathe again. The ocean knows too much, would reject me too. The pomelo at the corner of our fridge, untouched for months, face torn up like sausage skin. Roof of my mouth softens, mistaken for glue. The ocean is a fable. seaweed stuck between front teeth. If we lay our hides side by side, which of us has more scales? And after all of it, I ride Necton back to before I walked, to find my baby body fed. A warmth I have betrayed has betrayed me. Who can say if this daydream is more walking than water, more empty swing than drop? Unwound spool and a jar of kitchen grease, honeying frozen flies. Somehow, the tea is still cold, like you have forgotten who I am. What would you do if I could become a worm, wedged between subduction zone boundary between us, waking up to everything gone? The ocean is not a feeling, not a child, not a mother, not a worker, not a word. She is quaking, spinning, ablaze, an oven of unfinished business, a forehead, still learning from contours of glass like we are. This next poem is about a cat. This cat is really cute. Like one of the cutest cats in the world. Not the softest cat, but pretty cute. Our last, your pal's cat sublime beauty clasps. Pink coffee takes a toll beans, as if a being born of butterflies. Blue, a bloom of barley water, woke me, molasses from mirage, and I took selfies with her, and you pointed with one serendipitous finger, and there was no laser pointer, only whiskers, and I no longer wished to disappear. We do not formally know each other, her great gray infant-sized teenager, I thistled 30, stitched with tattoos and tired tendon. To undo form here is possible and survivable when, after all, her solar system, her water tub building of bad day tilting towers, a friend-fed feline Friday feast, merely, if not humbly, live inside it. I'm gonna read one more poem, and this poem first appeared in Campus magazine. Queer work. We found a droplet of hope in soil-lined rocks, soft ankle palms mug of some avocado, plant tall and tentative, so bodied then, ready to learn, to fold pint slices of forests into sculptural breaths, forgiving secrets, beshadowed and lamp-kissed, skin crevice after crevice, faith of our makeshift. Hand, drift designs, you tell me my home is a knife, pleat folds, and you are right and good, in whatever language that is right and good, because the curious and queer workings of this makeshift room, its brick walls crumbling into bits of scrap, paper whiteness fading into lampshades of mountains through our eager, so very sore and eager hands. Thank you.
Thanks, Jane. And God, what a treat to hear that visual poem out loud. I'm so glad I'm so glad you read tonight. So fun fact, our next reader, Danielle LaFrance, is responsible for the crucially important ampersand in the title of this series. When I ran the title Dear Friends past her, she said it needed space for further articulation. in both the additive and linguistic senses, which to me is an example of her poetry living its life out in the material world. I've been in a committed polyamorous relationship with Danielle's writing for many years now, and I'm always in awe of the unique way that it holds the complexity of our relations up for careful scrutiny and loving critique. Danielle LaFrance is a writer of the poetry research theory books Post-Dildo from Talonbooks, Just Like I Like It, and Friendly Fire, all from Talonbooks, Species Branding, and other poetry and critical writing have appeared in such magazines and journals as ASAP, the Capilano Review, woohoo, LESTE, Tripwire, and Organism for Poetic Research. The intertextual sound project, Yes, Sydo, with Josh Rose, has recently commenced with a reading and listening group which invites all to collectively critique the cultural significance of Homer's Odyssey as it is intervened by other texts and sounds and presently unfolding contexts. Here's Danielle.
Oh my God, as a dear friend said to me a couple months ago, it is too hot. So please drink some water. I beg of you. I deplore you. Implore you. Please. It's the serendipity of Christians. Prince here aligned with Leanne Dunick giving me the calendar at the beginning of June. Leanne asked who had a shitty May, and I did. So I am going to ask folks in this room who had a shitty June. Okay. I was gonna give it. Whoever had their hand up, you can have some of this. You can go with this. And I'll hold on to these because it's not like my June was that great either. I'm going to read a couple things tonight. I will read the correspondence section of hashtag Post-Dildo. The correspondence I haven't really read out loud before, so it's a bit of a treat for me. These came on the heels of a number of prompts that were offered to me in between. So this book is structured around a reading group that I held in 2018. So we met for 5 weeks, and in between week 3 and the fourth session, I spent some time on the island with a couple of friends, Roger Farr and Diana Bonder, and they gave me letter writing prompts. Hashtag correspondence, or you can do anything you want, I will not be hurt, which is a quote by Lar from the Collected Writings, who was a lover of Bataille. So of course, dear Bataille, in writing hashtag Post-Dildo, you plus I make good on a promise. Tramp, stamped, plus bound. When I expose promising is a fear of going crazy, you fear going crazy. Like how economic language regulates minds, parasitizing possibilities of perception beyond economic language, plus like how distilled economic language insanes possibilities. You put down a fork, plus butter knife, a stem. At this turn, I post caring, plus you fully investigated dinner in preparation for tea. You nestle a dildo against a temple like a Maria Lasnig painting. Aperitif sifts plus shapes, relations. A Serbian film is a Canadian film spelled backwards. Relation exposes relevance to this, to that, plus melts after 80s best served with bad rubber. Since it's not permitted to desire capitalism after a boom boom, take a backseat mocking a rapist. Is life glorious when you plus I promise to exceed life? Life is anguished when you plus I promise to exceed life. Dilno, right now, you plus I flush pink, plus fuck when stormed. Love forever, Marie. Confession to a Czar, which is riffing off Bakunin's Confession. He didn't capitulate to the Tsar. It was a little bit, what did he say? A little bit fancy, a little bit truth. So, Jane, your two truths and a lie really spoke to me. Confession to a Tsar for Roger Farr. Not only did I snort an entire Coke pile, but I face-fucked it like I once did a bowl of ice cream. Not only did I top it, but I raped it so profusely I destroyed all its castles. In short, I enjoyed its pathetic whimpering as I expelled a hostile crater of violent men out its pathetic whimpering asshole. Not only did I want it dead, but I killed it with my own hands, burned all its projects without exception. Not only did I make it fall in love with I, but I made a condition perfect for it to never leave I. In short, the relationship was terribly ridiculous. Every Monday, I sit on a therapist's black pleather lazy chaise. I look out at the city of ass, plus yearn for its decisive decimation. I want it to burn to a ground, plus I want to watch it burn to a ground. I want to watch it return to a dirt plus rock, which it cemented plus smoothed over. One of these days, you plus I won't remember a city of ass, same as a land which it leveled. Not only did I want to watch, but I participated in the city of asses' decisive decimation. Not only did I participate, but I orchestrated an entire range of actions from wooings, ones who signed my paycheck, to poisoning the police. Not only did I make a joke about hanging a doofus art critic at an art opening to make an example of it, I joked, but later I made an example of it. But jokes did not stop there. I took seriously re-education camps for it because, like Emile Armand, I know what boys like too. I started with those who bought up city stock without asking if there would be anything left for arrest. They freely lined up side by side on bended knees, flapping tongues plus mouths wide open, awaiting communion. Freely pirouetted, tiptoeing future figure eights between them, I confiscated their briefs, plus replaced them with high security male chastity belts completely covering genitals. I jokingly spat on their private parts. I will always be a friend. All manifestations of an anarchy of mere talk were to be abolished. I incited them instead to try a thin slice of choke pear. One of the most common uses of pear juice is in a treatment of constipation. One of the most common uses of a choke pear prevents liars from lying, plus mere talk. Love forever, Marie. Dearest hysteric, you defy genius's ordered plus rehearsed thinking. Is defeat plus subjugation inevitable? You are a true victim. You scrutinize all those who subscribe to cool Apollonian mythos, hold within you potential to temper two-fisted tones plus beefy atmospheres. I appreciate this because time is precious, plus I would like more. Dearest hysteric remembers viscerally, displays traumas, uncomfortably public, necessarily so, which is why I choose not to write about it. Dearest hysteric, no, I did not laugh. I was aghast at a few notable French women who denounced Me Too. I was eager to find out why, plus write to you. These French women paint you as a perpetual victim, exposing their pigs to all who cry. These French women believe this celebrity moment denies French men's fundamental right to bother. It's their nature to bother. It's their biological proclivity To deny men of this right not only denies their sovereignty, but most importantly, their genius. Dearest hysteric, censorship is inconvenient. Tie theoretical hairs to a brass bed frame. A single white hair grows, so I pluck it. Just because I want an end to patriarchy, it does not mean I want an end to plucking. You plus I might still hate each other. Dearest hysteric, an end to patriarchy does not mean you plus I will love easily. There never was a vampire without a stake or a rose without a thorn. Scumbag, thank you for a discourse analysis. Dearest hysteric, everything you plus I do together is for snot. Eternal victims confecting the good old days, incubators for poor little things. Random disclosure is often a byproduct of very good work. You discovered byproducts of obsessive subterranean interruption. You got lost, plus overcome by an archive of capitalist excess, plus now a Gulf of Mexico is on fire. Dearest hysteric, empathy recedes when you mostly talk about the men. Love forever, Marie. This one is called Dearest Intimate. It was Dearest Inmate to somebody who's serving a life sentence, but I changed it to Dearest Intimate, and it's for Josh Rose. Dearest Intimate, if I had a choice between marrying the love of my life plus you, I would always choose you, a love of my life. Dearest Intimate, even if it takes a lifetime, monogamy is not natural, plus neither is being chaste. If I had to choose, what would be a choice? If I had to love, what would be love? Dearest Intimate, love invocates a mysterious, ill-defined choice. I would rather be sweet. I would rather concoct. Dearest Intimate, tell I about a view from such a beautiful oubliette, a special place to settle debts. Dearest Intimate, circumstances of this love suspect perfection. All these comrades would disapprove imposition, but look at this face. Does it look like it cares? Does it convey definition or defy chance introduced by way of new engineered viewpoints? I just might have you imbibe a plate of panna cotta while I hate fuck you. I love this starvation. Further away, I beat myself into a fawn to get over you. Ignore I, spurn I, neglect I, lose I, only give I, leave. Unworthy as I am to watch from an observation gallery, what worse place can I beg love than when curtains open to a gurney? Dearest Intimate, before I can testify against you, I must file you away. This is an only way to believe in our love, but not our life together. I kneel in front of a living room fan, French braid my pubic hair, plus imagine togetherness, blowing hot breath on a baseline, apple cider vinegar, plus ground black pepper. When a few tendrils transpose, rewind a fan's circuity, this is mad love, baby. Plus, I wish you were here, flanked on both sides by Arbutus plus Douglas. This is mad love, baby, plus it wears, plus tears, baby. Love forever, Marie. Okay, and now I'm gonna move on to reading some new poems. They correspond to books in Homer's Odyssey. This is as Deanna mentioned, an intertextual sound project that I'm collaborating on with Josh Rose. And we commenced a reading group and a reading and listening group that started at the beginning of May, which is going until end of October, and it's open to all of you to attend. Some of you already have, so thank you. And of course, there are other ways to participate that don't involve being there in person. Poem 1. Dear Mental stimulation, waves entered, strewn canals until this poet heard your call. These bones are tiny, discreet from outside perceivers. Muse, you are to be an idiot now in my passageways. If I could only write better myself, but today we rely upon peripathetic speech. Only you provide this. Poet presents not auto theory, but histories of ideas and recent evidence of civil lies, sacrificed lambs on the bloody altar of every Wall Street, best described as forced adjustments to stop yet pander, variants spread to size, current locations. Dear cult of muse, I ask of you to tell me, I plead of you, tell me only truths anew. Turn ancient, blissful agony into anarchy. Bring in the golden hour without the era. Sans ageist paradigms, rather an elusive matriarchal thread and a literate cast of men who know women enough to sing their praise. Muse, this is much pressure, but tell me of complicated men, notably Sydo. Man of rage, mixed nutty, who cheats and begs for sex from a wife courted by colonial, brutal fucks. When poets take up a computer, psychology meets culture in every click of the keystroke. When muses take up this ask for quick banter, psycho hosebeasts meet analysts with every last paycheck. Here is the perfect gift for you to speak what suits you. This poet is dead now, better rouse a feast to grieve this death. It is so hard when geeks get remote flashes of ideal civilizations. For every truth, a lie. For every lie, an excessive xenia. Sydo longs to flavor. Listen to this deceased poet. Sing not right, sadistic flails of old. Past mistakes, churned heartstrings. Yes, Sydo, you forget that part of your name means pain, while mine is judged by God. So sorry, muse maniacs, away into spouting off ideal irate letters scorned by she who sees a problem in visible parts of the police that infects the vibration through some kind of body politic, actively silent in the first few rounds of call and response. Yes, Sydo surely complicates, but here on out, remains speechless while his ears burn from 10 years of men talking about his troubling folly. Poem 2. Telephone tag in the summer boil, amused in it, tells time to sell a narrative of how it all began from the point of now until the words fall out anew. Yes, Sydo, while he is absent, they will hoard it all for themselves. Rosy-tinted hunger sirs admonished by a wailing tick for a son. He so begs to be manly, but too hog-wild men limit any knack for hospitality. Cry, cry, son of a tortuous man called Yes, Sydo. Cunny dingus, singular. His daddy is a flex. Crass quote, turn mad by war whores. Who's into listening while daddy sounds his crew? Sounding calls edge effects between ancient, beautiful homecomings designed solely for men gone to fight another upsetting song of old. That heartily bears whose grief? Posed by a process where systems of dominance can be negotiated, versioned, otherwise his daddy produces mourning rites and men who gorge excess. Now, horseplay is for drunken men, while snivels are for ardent boys who like to fuck the dead. Wailing into missing parts of the second manuscript, he insists into his mother's groin as a description, mean as property, nevertheless contradictory. Ancient Greece existed before capital, but not before property. Devouring men, I beg you all to stop estranging I from what is ours. Feasts do not appear as have been established by private property itself, and yet they are pernicious, axiom-busting romps. If you drink yourselves into stupor or coma on the dime of my daddy, sleep dreams accustomed for the likes of Rabelaisian wit, but never capitalistic as such. Poem 3. Daddy is having a hard time reenacting slaughter in the sludgy mud, some kind of concession to a ram fed by his own hands each day he cared for him, including the day he was shot with a .38 revolver in the back of the skull. In the trenches, his speech was good, his advice was sound, but now in the mud, he cannot speak nor advertise psalms, his mouth punctured full of gut town. Capital to avoid leads to leaks of lazy process, but also a deranged scene where hell is neatly packaged confidence that never scowls bother. Pressure on palms opens jaws like a knob on a door out and about walking streets with too much self-possession to gain a proper willful cult following. They rather drag themselves into the geopolitical scene, supplicating to orbs while appropriating a marine culture's lifestyle choice. What is in fact a new mutual action when an alien hand summons sermo corporeus and mandates freedom salutes? Without feed for 12 to 22 hours, recline and count down to beggary. Not an ounce wasted on those expecting disaster. Not an ounce wasted on those willfully submitting to labor costs. It's now and never. Daddy jettes the trench and massages the blood out from his body and gives thanks by crooning to a karaoke contract teamed with a hospitable budget line no Greek would go for overpriced jazz, so to puke. He never raised his own meat, so there's no simple description of joy quite like stepping back and staring at the final disciple. His hands twist the babe's head until it pops off, and sworn to secrecy, all that's in the body cavity needs to come out by any means. I'm going to do 2 more. So, yeah. I'm going to do 1 more. Do the last one. Poem 6. Dear Daddy, the weak is restless. It chides my young thing to do its bidding. It was not designed for nothing, made possible for daddies to labor towards an earned minute of alcoholism he then must sober up from. Monday. So lazy, my clothes hang on me a week's worth of moral filth, fitted armor to wrestle out from so that I may be recognized by guests other than those uninvited. This is on my mind. My knees have bees between them, so whenever you come around, just shut them closed with a barb stinger latch sewn into my skin. Daddy, my friend cheated on her boyfriend with me this weekend. She stuffed my mouth full of dirty waste I had yet to launder. She made me cry, and now I am trapped. She used words to bag me, scrubbed a sea-purpled yarn the size of public appearances and manly private parts, beckoning, drips from the tastiest fruits, smacks of errors great men reside in, and the truths of little ones remained bitter. Court garments then joined her muzzle party, neglecting the rinse cycle in preference for colonial stew. My friend made me count each indelible stain out loud, archiving its flavors. Dear Princess, I am shy naked with communication, my belly oiled, waxed, poetic to the sounds of friendship. Now, princess, you humble my brand of hubris sexuality, privately condoning scenes between a nation and a state, that almost unquestioned foundation of world order, or so another daddy stands to reason. Would I have made you count or challenged the scene's right to exist? What is de rigueur is fit to custom, tyranny, established by my old thing with its antagonisms and wars, sloughed off by mutual aid. A drama-informed approach to yoking fools. Like a seed beneath the snow, no choice is ever bad until you cling on too good. Dear princess, basically, I would have you triggering yourself. Half-starved, it has been ages since I tasted food worth sharing with strangers.
Thanks, Danielle. All those epistolary articulations. Dear and, dear and, dear and. Fitting for tonight. So I've had the pleasure of knowing our last reader, Darby Minott Bradford, for well over a decade now. And I've enjoyed attuning myself to the various registers and harmonies, and indeed methods of their writing, in which writing is a form of research, and research is a form of poetic expression, and poetic expression is a form of auto-archiving, and auto-archiving is a form of political opposition. Darby Minott Bradford is a poet and translator based in Tio'tia, Montréal. He's the author of Dream of No One But Myself from Brick Books in 2021, which won the A.M. Klein Prize for Poetry, and was a finalist for the Griffin Poetry Prize and Governor General's Literary Awards. Bottom Rail on Top, their second book, will be published on September 1st, 2023. Darby.
Hi. Thanks a lot to the Capilano and Jackie and Deanna for being down for publishing a big chunk of this thing that's coming out soon. I woke up preambling, which is never a good sign. You're like, what will I say? There's a lot of things I could say. It's a weirdly complicated book. But I'll try to keep it simple. So there's Black history, all caps, American Black history, to be clear, which is what I was raised with. And then there's like people here in the present. And then there's this straight line that gets drawn by a lot of people in mainstream Black thought and mainstream Black communities, but also I'd say in Black radical thought communities. And there's a lot of complications and there's a lot of problems and there are lots of twists and turns that don't really make that right. And a place that like looking into that kind of began for me was with this anecdote, these two anecdotes really built around the phrase bottom rail on top, which I won't explain right now because it'll take too long. But essentially there's one anecdote that's a Confederate anecdote in like a Confederate soldier's memoir, a secondhand story, very, very clearly a lie designed to say, kind of like you give them an inch, they take a foot kind of thing. And built around a Black soldier on like this island that was a prison for Confederates during the war. Very much a Black men bad story. And then there's an American historian, Leon Litvack, who saw that and said that's probably a lie, which I agree, that's probably a lie, and then used it as a source and built a completely different story, the point of which is kind of Black men good. And both of them are lies, and both of them ventriloquize Black bodies. And the latter has really been reified to the point where like the first place I heard about it was in a Ken Burns documentary. That gives you an idea of how far it's made it. And very much serves like a kind of Black respectability politic very Americanist, very masculinist mode that really hasn't served me very well. Certainly hasn't served my family very well. Disastrously, really, at times. And yet, there's a prevailing attachment, and it's not going away, and it keeps not going away. So this book was very much looking into a bunch of different histories, intervening on them in different ways, trying to learn it for myself, trying to dovetail it all together, and then looking at the present alongside it, thinking about the echoes, sure, but a lot about the contrasts between what these bodies over here went through and what me, certainly, but Black folks in general now are going through, and there's a lot of complicated stuff there. The last thing I'll say is there's this polyvocal element with the historical sequences, which is fine when you're composing at home alone, and then you're like, this is going to be complicated in person. So Jane and Danielle and my good friend Adrian have been kind enough to help me with this idea of exploring the polyvocality of this. So they have some microphones, and this is probably going to be messy, but the good mess, right? So thank you all for being here. Rope 2. Not a poem, but fatherlands so far gone, barely dawned, way down on all of them. All whites on the big house tour. Not a poem, but plantation dining room, ceiling pulley fan, boy fatherlands, and rope. Not a poem, but brick kiln children, firing fatherlands, mourning, cure, and smote. Not a poem, but that 28 Oaks alley, fatherland's limbs pretty, still hanging, heavy low. And not another of on the grounds, not serving brunch.
Dine, sleep, explore,
Vacherie, Louisiana. Not a poem, but a big house is a big house. Imagine I'm standing in one, being told every brick that makes it up was made on site by children. That said children did not look like me and kept the fire going around the clock. Imagine the tour guide announcing all this, dressed to look like the mistress of the house. Someone helps dress her in the morning, pile the whole thing on, button it up the back. Or there's well-placed Velcro and she does it on her own. Either way, imagine there's a sound just outside the window, a clinking like bricks, and she imagines children stacking them. And then every day she talks about the bricks. Every day she impresses it upon us that the walls are 3 bricks thick. Every day I'm out here, I'm wearing selvage denim, Horween leather boots, cotton tops from unknown places. And every day since I stay impressed because here are the details. Here she is pointing her ruffled sleeve at the enslaver's will's list of properties, whatever you call such a thing. Here it says 4-poster mahogany bed frame, $30. Here it says D'Iberville, 34 years old, $1,200. Here everything was made by the enslaved, and so here everything made is worthless, apart from the means to make them. Here Miana, quote, mulatto seamstress, unquote, and her 2 boys and 3 girls were worth 2.5 times as much as the 15 cart horses, worth 50-odd beds. The things remain, the people don't. I pout my way through the gift shop. I wish I knew what I ordered for lunch. I wonder how many folks around Vacherie know about the name of their town. I assume there were cows down here. But for those of us who speak the language now, the first thing vacherie brings to mind is a gratuitously crappy thing, like a pile of shit out by the levee. It gives cows a bad name. Ashes too. Not a poem, but a turtle back off Monkland. River just about hid the island frosted, now and again. What I might scrub, can to can't, see right off myself. Not a poem, but my wintering in ash, my shed and vanity alight, never soft spoken. Not a poem, but my Liberté cottage cheese tub, a Viva cold pressed coconut and fine Lantic silk, my ass smelling like a fish. Not a poem, but takes leave of my flake, granulated clean, scaled on the cheap from across a whole ocean. Not a poem, but what a simple treat, what softly remains my merest skin. Not a poem, but non-hydrogenated, the best part of waking up, click, click. Loophole. Now it gets a little hairy. Not a poem, but alive still.
If we think of the flesh as primary narrative, H.
Not
Spillers.
a poem, but don't get lost. Pled and poured over ain't eyes as the hold and still.
That's it, honey.
Despite my fantasies of flight,
Between a hawk and a buzzard.
Not a poem, but Garrett the breastwork. Sojourn the bulwarks, gin a cotton fatherlands prying in. And still,
Seared, divided, ripped apartness, riveted to, spillers, and in between
not a
location,
poem, but
Maggie,
Harriet,
Bartet.
writing about Linda in the shed's crawl space, listening for her kids.
And oh, Christian mothers,
my own
way to obtain it.
Not a poem, but who writing her 7 years, sewed by shingle light, one hole by gimlets, two little faces floating in.
Neither the brain or the talent to write it, 1853.
thought into my head.
Not a poem, but cunning versus cunning.
As good as comedy to me, 145.
Not a poem, but notes for the flinting nook scrawled in reps.
Made to render them a service,
Not a
142.
poem,
that I wish to pursue.
but patient in tribulation, fervent in spirit.
Mount Auburn Cemetery, Cambridge,
Where no
Massachusetts.
Not a poem, but
Where
serving
no
the
eye
Lord.
gods could see me.
None but the one writ fatherlands croak out on Martha's attic.
What made me think it was you?
And the omission of one.
Not a poem, but
passes.
till the cut breaks. Wrote with a prayer led out of the darkness. Wrote faint of body, strong of purpose.
An
An assurance of repetition, whispered through a crack.
Not a poem, but to write at last, past the old house, one last time. By boat, the breeze and the sunshine, north by fatherlands, 10 days and 10 nights.
Territory that defies all laws, she is not told the half.
1853.
Not a poem, but the problem of proneness. Not the aftermath of her proneness, of Harriet's forever messed up body, carrying those cramped years of hiding in the family garrets, hiding from doctor enslavement. Not the problem of its likeness either, of Harriet Beecher Stowe, for one, who wouldn't believe any of her story at first, and asked her northerly employer of all people to confirm it. The story she wasn't liable to start writing till her grandmother Molly, her story's Aunt Martha, passed back in Everton. But I mean the problem of the story some of us have tried to figure that crawl space is, the scrawl in her head, the desperate quiet to keep up the whatever's between them. The whole while not just bearing fruit and subterfuge, one letter at a time. not just the mess of covert exercises taking her frame to the future in a little sail ship headed north, back together, planning forever, dear readership. Not just prone as I am writing this, not just the irony of writing her mouth shut, not just the telling fact of that other Harriet's refusal to write the books forward, but the lot of those inclined to imagine her years in hiding as prone as Winslow Homer's The Gulf Stream Maroon, her toes tucked up on a drifting bit of boatwood, sharks circling as thick as the water. Before they imagine her after, prone as Kerry James Marshall's Gulf Stream, weekender sailors, given to leisure, almost whimsical, loaded and well. When she's really only as prone as if she's at once the maroon and the sailors. And she's also Marshall and Homer, and she's also more work to come. She's also the sun coming up. She's also watching it come up. Writes it down on free soil. I'm unsure how she enjoys the work, but the work gets done. Little chug. Not a poem, though when we come up on the cyclical impasse back underground at Old Mill. Not a poem, though when Petey and his peak wicker ensemble insist on making ours an intimate seating arrangement. When they twang up the whole breadth of the subway cars dispersing not me audience. Not a poem, though, when they don't lose it as much as loose their good private shit, breaknecking their way to what might be the right kind of station, tangentially at a loss and circling in and staring me down and received and open to not stopping at all. Not a poem, though when I nod my fucking head till they get off at Islington. When I keep their mouths going and they transfer with me up on the airport rockets and we take it to the bridge, baby, turn our ship to change on my last sweet token. Not a poem, though, when I forget everything they said. I keep the one secret, growing so good and big, I pray to quote myself on it. This one's from The Issue. New Core. Not a poem, but given a uniform.
I observed a very remarkable trait about them, Jen Butler.
Not a poem, but give 'em fatherland's U.S. a brass, number 'em an eagle, button 'em what a bullet pocketful of 'em can earn, set force from the hand, first under fire.
Woe betide us if we fail to embrace it, F. Douglas.
Not a poem, but the heaviest blow, at last in blue coats under good white officers.
And aid in capturing more.
Not a poem, but the pontoon corps, Afric fatherland's guard, dark and thorny, poised and butchered out of Port Hudson. Given a new age coffles, bargain in garrison.
Pharaoh is libertas per virginian, immense cheering. July 6, 1863.
Not a poem, but if better soldiers never shouldered a musket, and if freedom, if theirs by the sword, and patience, if by a common origin tardy, a common language cold, if a common literature dull, a common glory in different, mysterious properties. Seems it only took 1,000 or so black soldiers to truly convince Benjamin Butler. I wonder what Frederick Douglass might have thought of that. At times convinced, as I'm sure he seemed allowed, that black soldiers would get the same pay, that they'd get more than a few of their own commissions, that this was how they'd die or come home undeniable citizens, amended without exclusion, deep in the course of ages, in the solemn shades, the silent continents. If in a dance of blood, I mean the sheer turns of phrase the man would draw out for those who showed up to hear. And in the most distressing colors, if the prostrate form, the uncovered head, the cringing attitude, the bated breath, swift and zealous, it fitted through their sentences, radical and determined, though if duly convicted, if the din of business and peace among them, the whites, never lacked for a tongue, if the withered branch and the unsightly rock, if a mere speck in the life of a nation, disastrous times, if had cheap, presenting the semblance of paradise. Deus hose. Hose like a watering hose, not the other hose. Not a poem, but my studious pain is so dark and romantic. Not a poem, but so hot and angelic, taking me out on the town in my Tasmanian teal down endowment. My very own Patagonian fill is the absolute warmest kindling of guilt. Not a poem, but oh, so loftily, well, I might live a long time while pretty, ashamed, and jobless. Not a poem, but passing more roughage than a water closet. And this holy commode that still don't fray calls the buildup architectonic, calls this strain a shift. Not a poem, but a savor in severance I might never be done fucking with. This time. Not a poem, but given old masters down the river, fenced in.
Nothing but a bleak sandbar, 1868.
Not a poem, but given dragooned old boys beneath the Negro's heel.
Oh, shame, where is thy blush?
Not a poem, but given a bit of white meat, and when fatherlands heard tell of it.
For no offense at all that anyone could discover.
Not a poem, but that ain't shit now, massa lockdown, given hell of an uppity fatherland's business, or given whatever white lie of it.
Let my people go, 1886.
Not a poem, but the way the times have found us equal companions in death.
Until we today have done our part fighting it,
but given the storm
1987.
so long, chalked up to PBS, sweet to greet the old fatherlands, shackled with the rest at last, and yet.
More from the Ken Burns in the classroom
Not a
collection.
poem.
Oh Lord, give me more time to pray.
But the bottom rail on top, moving on up, and still the same old fence.
All the evils of that evil day.
Not a poem, but young gifted fatherlands, and no reruns, brother, and let my people living just enough, the same fucking again.
Power, Lord.
Not a poem, but when you come home, say it loud, I'm but a train a-coming, endless days, and just like a river I've,
Lord, I feel like running.
Not a poem, but I'm close to the edge. Not a poem, and when it hit, you feel no pain.
Lord, and never get tired. Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Not a poem, you don't need no baggage. Not a poem, streets of gold.
Thank you.
Not a poem, unless. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you, Jane, Danielle, and Darby for sharing your work with us, and to everyone here with us tonight virtually, and in person for making space for these incredible words. If you enjoyed tonight's reading, please mark your calendars for the next event in this series on Thursday, September 7th. Note that we're taking a break for the month of August. For our September reading, we will be welcoming our 2023 writer-in-residence, Tio'tia Tanya Evanson, and special guests. Please stay tuned for the full event announcement in the coming weeks. So please feel free to hang around, grab a drink. Please do visit us at the merch table outside and show your support by donating or buying some merchandise. And we would love to chat with you. Thanks again and have a wonderful evening.